Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. I'm Disha. In this tutorial, as you can already guess, we are going to be learning about this beautiful boho mandala art and create this from scratch using pastel acrylics and our fine liners. So without wasting any further time, let's dive deep into the tutorial. So getting started, I'm using the 400 GSM Brewster acrylic paper in A6 size along with the Brewster Tear Off paper palette, and I'm going to be using Brewster's pastel acrylic colors in the shade Lavender and Tuscan Sun, which is a very beautiful shade of violet as well as yellow, both contrasting colors. And along with it, I'm going to be using the Brewster Gold Tackling flat brush in the size 2, but you can go ahead and use any supplies that you want to work with. Maybe use gouache, maybe use brush pens, anything that you have available to create this boho kind of background for your mandala. Now getting started, I'm going to just take a pinch of my lavender as well as the Tuscan Sun color in my palette. Just a tiny bit amount will do. Same goes for the Tuscan lily. And I'm going to just use tiny bit amount of water to just mix the color beforehand in the palette, but you can directly use from tubes. I do not prefer that. The reason so because sometimes they might form lumps, which is not something very preferable to me. And I'm just taking the lavender tone and I am going for just randomly making any shape at the corner of my paper. And I'm going for curve shape, but you can go for stiffer shapes or maybe like straight kind of lines as well. But with the boho kind of an art, it's preferable to have a little bit of curves here and there just to make it more smoother, more natural and more carefree. This, I'm just going to add another bit of drop of water. I'm going for very random shapes here, so you can just feel free to play around with the shapes as you like. Do not add too much of water to your acrylics, otherwise they will turn translucent, which is not something very preferable in case of acrylics. We want them to be opaque as much as possible. Final shade. I'm just playing around with one side of the paper. If you want, you can just play around with the whole paper as well. I'm just keeping the other half for my mandala. So here I'm done with my purple shades. Next I'll move to my Tuscan lily. And next I'm going up with the Tuscan Sun, not Tuscan Lily, my bad. But yeah, Tuscan Sun is, which is a very vibrant yellow. Again, just a little bit drop of water, maybe one or two, and just mix it to make it lump free and have a smooth creamy consistency. These pastel acrylic colors are so vibrant, so delicious in nature. These shades are absolutely gorgeous to work with. They have a very smooth buttery kind of a texture, and you might definitely go ahead and try your hands on them because these are at a very affordable rate, which is at 498 rupees. The link to the materials are given in the description box below, and a discount coupon code is also been attached there, so you can have a little bit of discount every time you shop. And to be honest, who doesn't love discounts, right? So here is a little circle that I'm playing around with, my yellow, but you can play around with any other shapes in between the purples. And I'm going for again very abstract as well as very carefree kind of sizes with it, small, big, and I'm not like worried about perfecting it at all as well. So I'm just going to go with bit bigger from the bottom half. As well as in this corner. The fun part about boho art is you can get to be as abstract as you want and keep it as natural, as real as it can get. So you don't have to perfect any shape, you don't have to perfect any kind of anything in this art form, and go with absolutely anything that you feel at the moment. So you just play around with different shapes. You can also use maybe a different brush, but I'm just sticking to the brush that I'm using right here. And I guess I am almost done, and I'll see to if I can improve the composition any whichever way. But again, it's not about getting the right composition or so, just having fun, being as natural and as playful as you can get. Just going with small dots here and there. Again, I'm not focusing on the dots or the circles to be exactly like a circle, but as much as possible just to fill up the space and as I'm liking it. And I guess I am happy with this background yet, but we'll add another little thing, but I'll just wait for my yellow or the Tuscan sun shade to dry up a little bit before I move forward and add another layer to just enhance or pop it out a bit. Meanwhile, I feel that if I have extended the composition till here, I'll just add a little bit of maybe purple as well on this portion. Just my thoughts, just to complement it, but again, nothing necessary, nothing to be balanced or something, just as much as carefree and composed it might look to your eyes. And yeah, I am happy with it, and I'm going to just let it rest for now. Now my colors are almost to dry, so I'll just take out the last color which I'm going to be using, which is the shade Fossil, which is a very smooth pastel grayish tone, or maybe like a sesame charcoal kind of a tone, pastel in shade. And I'm going to just take it up, but you can use maybe any other color, contrasting one, or maybe a darker tone of the same colors, maybe black as well, but I would love to play around with pastels here. So I'm just gonna take a bit of Fossil, and this time I'm going to shift my brush, and I'm using the Brewster Gold Tactile brushes, round brush in the size 4 here. And I'm going to just again add a little bit drop of water, not much, just mix the color as smoothly as possible just to avoid any lumps and just to get that creamy consistency going. Though this pastels already have this smooth consistency, just to make it move or flow through the brush, I'm just adding a couple of drops of water, not much. Make sure about that, otherwise your acrylics will turn translucent, and that is not something we are looking forward to. Okay, so I'm just getting this Fossil shade, and I'm going to go ahead and maybe add smooth line and add leaves, something like these. Just press your brush whenever you want maybe the leaf structure, and just lift it up wherever you don't want it. Just like smooth touch, press and pull up motion. That is what we are looking for. And I'm going to also go for a little in between leaves as well, wherever I find that space. Not necessary, but just fills up the composition a bit more. Again, different sizes, play around with the variety. And yeah, I'm happy, and I'm just going to move with maybe somewhere around here to add such another leaf combination. One line string, middle leaf, and then going for the sideward leaves first. Again, playing around with the directions, playing around with the shapes, sizes, pressing my brush a little too hard or a little too less to get smaller or different sizes of leaves. And maybe in different directions as well. Just make the tip a little bit here and there looking, so that again it comes up with looking in different directions. And I'll maybe add another one, final one in this corner. Because acrylics are very quick drying, just keep sure that you have like 1 drop of water added each time if you feel that your color is drying up, or just to maintain that like same consistency all throughout your coloring process. And final one for maybe this corner. So I'm just going for different directions each time, just a little bit different than the previous one. Again, because we are just going carefree with it, so not necessary we have to keep all of them exactly same. So just again, I have repeated it like maybe tons of time this in this tutorial, but just play around, feel free to explore, experiment, and just work your heart out. So I'm just like building the composition from a single line, and you might do the same. And I'm just going to add a little bit more leaves, but from the two corner ends, but not such a long one, but just a shorter composition on this end. So I'm just merging all of the leaves in one single stem, but you can go for multiple stems from different angles. Again, nothing restrictive, nothing to follow the same pattern. Smaller compositions of maybe 3 leaves, 2 leaves, somewhere in between. When I start drawing leaves, I guess I can't stop. But I absolutely love making them. But this is going to be my last, or hopefully my last or second last. I'm not sure, but just I'll add one another from this corner. You can build your mandala first and then play around with it, but I like to go the other way around, which is building my background first so that I know where my space is and how I would like to compose it before adding the mandala. And this is my second last because I'm just going to add a little bit something like the opposite end on this side. You can maybe use a thinner brush for smaller leaves, whichever you like. And yeah, I am happy with my composition. I absolutely love it. And I'm just going to go forward with maybe just adding small dots of gray into the white areas. Not necessary, just makes the composition pop out a little bit more. Again, just playing around. Here and there in the corner ends. And I'm not adding it over the color, just around the white areas, because we already have over the colors the gray leaves. So just into the white areas. And yeah, I'm happy. I'm not going to add anything else. I'm just going to let it dry before we move on to our mandala here, which will be our semicircular mandala. Now my background has been dried and I'm going to be going ahead and taking up my ruler first, along with it a pencil, and I'm going to just place it at the edge of my paper here, and I'm just going to mark off the midpoint. So my midpoint is 7 centimeter, and similar way I'm just going to lightly mark it on the opposite end as well. Not much, just a light bit. And I'm going to go ahead and using this midpoint draw a straight line and make sure not going towards the detailing end or the background end of the side here. And I'm going to go ahead and taking my compass, I'm just going to place it at the edge of the paper. Just make sure it doesn't slips off. And I'm going to go ahead and draw out my mandala circle, or the area I want my mandala to be, not overriding my background here. So this much, and maybe I can just increase it a slight bit, just this much, and I'm not going to add any more area, right? And I'm going to again take up my ruler, just from the center point mark out the size. It's a little bit more than 4 centimeter, right? And I'm just going to this time go free-handedly drawing the circles. Again, just make sure you're at the edge of the paper and it's not slipping off. If it is, just extend it out a little bit towards the end. It might happen, so make sure. And I'm going to, instead of rotating my compass, rotate my paper for more smoother circles and avoiding less slips at the center point here. So I'm just going for concentric circles of not exactly equidistant, but as much as possible. And yes, this is my last circle, and here I have my concentric circles drawn. Next, we'll take up our protector, and I'm going to place it at the centermost point and make sure it's perfectly aligned with the vertical line is perfectly aligned with our 90-degree. Make sure it is, and I'm going to just mark the 15-degree points slightly. Again, mark 15, 30, 45, 15-degree, all of the 15-degree angles. 75, we already have our 90 here, so again 75, 60, 45, 30, 15, and we already have it here. Okay, just don't go for a very dark or pressurized mark, just keep it as light as possible, and just taking our ruler once again, we'll connect it with the center of our mandala or the center of our circles here. On the other side as well. Make sure your artwork is completely dried, or the background that you have done is completely dry, the acrylics here. Otherwise, you might have the chance of smudging it using your ruler as well as your hands and everything over it. So make sure it's completely dry before you start the mandala process. So here we have our mandala grid completely ready. We'll take out our fine liners, and I'm going to be using the Brewster fine liner in two different sizes. One is 0.5 mm and one is 0.3 mm. So the 0.5 mm or the bolder tip for the outer shapes, and the thinner one or the 0.3 mm for the inner detailings. So taking up our 0.5 mm, I'm just going to go ahead and I am going to be using 4 grid boxes to create a petal shape. But again, you can go ahead and create any shape of your choice, not necessarily stick to the ones that I am working with. Going to repeat it. This. The next shape that I'm going to be going forward is the pointed arc shape from the midpoint of this petal areas. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and draw first the half one here. Again, using 4 grid boxes, but you can use more number of grid boxes for bigger shapes, or lesser number of grid boxes for smaller shapes. Again, your call on how you want your mandala to look like. Next, I'm moving forward. I'm going to go ahead and create a semicircular shape in between these two pointed arc shape or curved triangular shape, whatever you want to call it. You can always use your pencil first to draw out the shapes and then move forward with redoing with your fine liners. I call it like a dual practice. So if you're like confused about what pattern shapes you want to add or you want to try out, definitely feel free to go ahead and use your pencils first and then redo it with your fine liners. There is no harm in it, but make sure you're using your pencils very lightly, otherwise it will be difficult to erase at the end. So make sure you're using them with minimal pressure for as long as you can see it clearly. So I'm done with the next shape as well. For the final shape, I'm going to go ahead and go forward with going for a semi half paisley from the midpoint of my semicircles like this, and bring it down to the midpoint of my pointed arc shape, and in between I'm just going to go for maybe one circle and two smaller circles on either side like this, and I'm going to repeat it same way. Again, your mandala, your choice of shapes, you can move forward with anything that you would like. And here I'm done with my mandala outlining. I'm just going to do another little thing before I start off with the detailing, which is I'm just going to go ahead and add a thick border around the end just to make it a bit more contrasting and just pop out from the paper as well. This is very optional, you might or might not do it, depends completely on your choice. And this is something that I really like to do just to make it a little bit more contrasting against the white of the paper, as well as to stand out against the background. I'm using the same thick tip fine liner. And here I am done. One thing which is irking me a bit, which is the space here, so I'm just going to quickly add a little bit of leaves here as well, just to balance it out, but again not necessary, but something that I feel should be done according to me, because I am a little picky on these matters. But again, that is your call, that is your artwork. If you're recreating this, feel free to work on it as you like. Just going to go ahead and maybe add 2 leaves here. Just increase this a bit. Yep. And I guess I'm happy, good to go, and I'm satisfied completely with my background. Again, I'll just let it dry for a little bit before I start working. Okay, but yeah, again, this is completely your artwork. Whichever way you feel comfortable, you feel this is right, work in that way. Okay, no need to just go with somebody else's things or inspirations. Okay, you can definitely take inspiration, but work on it as your own particular artwork. Just adding a little bit more gray dots to fill up the space, but again, not necessary, just how I would like my artwork to stand out here. And again, I'm just going to let the leaves dry before I get on with the detailings of my mandala. So my areas have been dried, but I'll still be a little cautious. Now, before we add any kind of detailing, I like to go ahead and add a double outlining, so that your detailings as well as your pattern shapes pop out. And this time I'm using the 0.3 mm for the inner sides or the inside of the pattern shape as my fillers, and I'm going to just double outline it, and I'm going to go forward with a swirl. Again, any shape or detailing of your choice, and 1 and 2 circles, and I'm just going to fill all the remaining white spaces. And I'm just going to repeat it on all sides. Again, for the next detailing, I'm just going to double outline the shape, and I'm just going for subdividing a shape a bit. So I'm just going for a small semicircular shape inside of this pointed arc shape. I'm going for, again, double outlining it. I'm just going for adding a line and a dot, not very complex, and I am going to go ahead and add petals on this. Okay, as many petals as it fits. Mine one fits one mid petal and two petals on either side, and I'm just going to add a little bit of this thin line just to make it a little bit more intricate. Again, very optional, but you can work on it as you like. And again, we are going to be repeating the same on all of our pattern shapes. Make sure you're touching the double outlining with your pattern detailing so that you have minimal space to fill, as well as your pattern detailings look bold and prominent. Now that I'm done with my second layer, I'm going to move forward with my third layer. Again, first double outlining it, and I'm going to go for a swirl in the centermost portion. I'm going to go ahead and subdivide it from the midline. I'm going to go ahead and add tilted lines on one half, and on the other I'm going to go ahead and add a half triangular shape, as well as one again the lotus shape, side lotus petal like this. I'm going to again fill off the remaining white spaces. I'm again adding a line just to make it look more intricate, but again very optional. In case you are struggling with finding the right detailing for your piece, you can definitely go ahead and check out some of the pattern tutorials that I have shared, which range from completely beginner friendly to intricate pattern detailings, and you can practice them and come up with your own combinations as well as your own unique pattern detailings. Definitely check them out. The videos are on our channel itself. And here I'm done with my third layer. Coming to the final layer, I'm just going to again double outline my semi half paisley, something like this, and I'm going to go ahead and not like overpower it with too much of intricate detailings because it is a small space. So I'm just going to go ahead and go for hatching, which is hatching from one side like this, small strokes, and I'll hatch it from the other side onwards as well like this. Bit of curved lines merging at the sides, but I'm going to leave the mid portion blank just to give it a little bit of nice highlight. And I'm going to repeat the same. You can twist around your paper to the direction wherever you're hatching. This makes it more smoother. This, and I'm going to repeat it again on all of the shapes here. And we are done with our mandala. We are going to just quickly erase all of the pencil lines, and for that just erase very lightly and make sure you're just erasing in one direction so that you're not scribbling around and it doesn't hamper your boho art portion or your mandala in any sorts of way, or your paper for that matter. Just erase all of the pencil marks. And that was the reason I always tell everyone to use their pencils very lightly with minimal pressure as much as possible, so that it's easily erasable and you don't have to struggle at the end or hamper your art in any sorts of way while erasing. So yeah, we are finally done, and yes, we have our boho mandala art completely ready. So this is how the final piece looks like, this beautiful boho mandala art. Make sure you are subscribed to our channel so that you do not miss out on such amazing art tutorials. Definitely go ahead and recreate this in your own style or in my style or in any whichever way that you wish to go ahead and recreate this. And definitely do tag us on Instagram if you're posting it at the rate Vivid Trails as well as at the rate Vivid Trails Studio. The links are given in the description box below. So don't forget to tag us. We are looking forward to seeing your lovely creations. So happy creating. I'll see you next time with such amazing art tutorials in the upcoming week.